You're listening to the world-famous White Roof Radio. Woofcast number 673, recorded September 9th, 2021. Holy crap. Tonight brought to you by DonBurnside.com and, DetroitTune.com and MotoringStripes.com. Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody, it's DB in Arizona. Brand new episode of World Famous White Roof Radio, the 673rd meeting underneath the White Roof. Join this evening, as always, my good friend Todd Pearson. Todd, say hi.
I am here, and welcome to the NFL.
Oh, God, I forgot the football season.
Season starts tonight. I'm watching.
Season started tonight. We're recording, and I don't know who played.
Tampa Bay and Dallas right now.
I'm waiting for Gabe's theme song to ring in right now.
No, Gabe's not here.
Gabe's not here. No, that was a good friend. Also, the good Reverend Mr. Chad Miller, Detroit Tune, DetroitTune.com. We're going to talk about Mini Coopers for you on a Sunday night. Let's just hope, like we like to do. NFL season's already back.
Yeah.
Dude, where's this year gone?
I don't know. Labor Day was like 4 days ago, man.
Crazy.
I was actually thinking about this yesterday because I must have done something right because FedEx is throwing football tickets at me.
Nice. Way to go, Chad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those corporate comps, man.
Uh-huh.
See, and you know what? You know who could take advantage of comps like that? Somebody who is employed at Detroit Tune, DetroitTune.com. If you happen to be a high-quality technician that knows how to work on Mini Coopers and you need work, you should send your resume over. Resumes at DetroitTune.com. Chad would love to talk to you.
1,000%.
There you go. Got to keep it going. Keep it going nonstop. Tonight, we're going to talk about Mini Cooper motors. We're going to talk specifically about the F56 motor because I've been driving an F56 for about 1,000 miles, and I'm very excited about it. And all of a sudden, and I've been doing a lot of research because, why? I'm a giant nerd. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We don't get Gabe tonight because he's got a huge presentation or some shit in the morning. So we don't care.
We all have glasses on tonight, so that makes us super nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I'm wearing my computer glasses, not just my regular glasses. So, I'm in super nerd mode. Let me tell you.
Blue blocker.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, wait a minute. Is Gabe Bridger waiting in the lobby?
Oh, no, he's not.
We must admit Mr. Bridger. Let's hope his audio doesn't suck.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have my soundboard.
Gabe, you joined on mute because Teams. So why don't you try to unmute and let's see if we can actually hear what you're saying.
Hello.
There you go.
There he is.
Gabe, good evening. We're already in the show. How are you, sir?
We just started.
Good. I'm just swinging in for a couple minutes of the show to make an appearance and leave gracefully.
Nice.
That's the plan.
Gabe, it's fortuitous that you've joined us this evening because I specifically wanted to talk about the brilliance that is the BMW B48 motor.
Ooh.
And if you wanted to just go on poetically for like a minute and a half or 2 minutes about that, and then disgracefully or gracefully exit, completely rad.
So I'm going to start in a weird place. Well, and first off, tell me when if my mic gets weird, because I'll
we will
switch.
totally. You still having trouble with that?
Oh yeah, it's
Dude, that's
nonstop.
Weird. All right.
So first off, the 2-liter. We're talking about the 2-liter, right?
Yes.
It'd be 48. So why it drives me nuts is its inability to rev quickly. It drives me nuts.
Okay, I get that.
Because everything else about that engine is really generally so great. I mean, it doesn't like to rev up to red line, so it doesn't have some incredible crescendo.
Well, because the red line is 6,000 RPMs is the problem too.
It's lowish, and they do that. They've done that because they don't need to go the higher, and the components they have in it are a little bit cheaper because of that. They can sort of, you know what I mean? It's not
right.
like a race engine or anything.
Right.
But the benefit is it lasts forever or I should say much, much longer than the previous engine.
Right.
It's got a really good longevity history to it so far, at least from what we know.
Yes.
So the thing that drives me crazy, that, like I said, is that inability to rev quickly.
And as an aside, the thing that really bothers you the most is one of the things that I think is the coolest thing. But I'm going to talk about that after you leave, so we don't care. You don't care.
So what I love about it is its torque and where it delivers it. especially in the JCW engine. But even honestly, the Cooper S is fantastic. I mean, the Cooper S engine is producing the torque of the previous JCW engine, pretty much, if I recall correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
So tons of torque, which means immediate response. It's paired well with the 6-speed manual. It works exceptionally well with the 8-speed Aisin automatic that is in a lot of the cars these days. I have it in my Countryman. That it is fantastic. I mean, the 6-speed was okay. The 8-speed's fantastic. Of course, the 6-speed manual gate track is the best, but you can only get that in the small cars. So yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, gas mileage is okay, but what are you gonna do? Yeah,
I'm getting like 35 out of mine, almost 40. I'm getting ready to do a long road trip to California. I'm excited to see what I get for gas mileage.
Well, it's funny because I think Gabe's experience and mine, I have only experienced this in JCW form. And when we're talking about this, just to back up a little bit for people who don't know, they're going, what are you talking about, B48? What, F56? We're talking about the engine that Mini came out with in 2014. They started putting it into cars in the newest, latest generation Mini in 2014. And this is the Cooper S engine. It's the 2-liter, 4-cylinder engine in the Cooper S and the JCW. The JCW's got a little bit different number to it, but it's basically the same engine. So, and
the first use of this particular BMW platform, the B48 motor, was actually in the F56 Mini.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of.
No.
Kind of.
It did hit. So it's actually really interesting. What BMW did is they're like, okay, we're going to be German about this. We are going to create an entire family of engines that are essentially derived from the same components, from an inline 6 to a 2-liter 4 to a 1.5-liter 3.
Right.
So they did this, and I mean, it's kind of incredible in my opinion.
It's the whole 500 cc's per cylinder, and they started with an inline 6 and they just whack off the cylinders for the platform that they need it for.
Pretty much.
You're right. And so it exists, and this is the other thing that's really interesting about it. It exists both in front wheel drive, latitudinal format, engine sideways, and longitudinal format, rear wheel drive. So it's an incredibly versatile engine in terms of how BMW uses it. And what that means is BMW was able to pour an enormous amount of money into this engine because they knew the return on the investment was there, because it was going to be components for this engine, and this engine is going to be in so many cars that it makes sense to actually invest in the engine. Now, why is that important? Well, let's take a look at the Prince family of engines for the R56, which Chad can talk about probably in perpetuity.
Right.
That engine, BMW's like, well, we don't have the scale, so we're going to just partner with this company, PSA, Peugeot and Citroën in France, and we're going to develop an engine. Actually, they're going to develop it, and we're just going to take it. We're going to tell them what we want, and they're going to produce it. And that was that. And so it never really was up to BMW reliability standards, performance standards, et cetera. It wasn't a bad engine. It's actually, I kind of like. There's a lot of parts of it I love, but I think you're seeing the longevity issues, I think, are pretty evident for anybody who's owned those cars for a long time. And I think there's a clear, straight line, as I say, from what BMW didn't invest in that engine versus the problems that you now see versus what you see in the F56. I'm sorry, the B48.
Yes.
The money they poured into that, the time they poured into that, because they knew that engine was going to be not in just Minis, but in BMWs as well. And for, a very,
and not only BMWs, but this is the engine that BMW sells. So this is in the Toyota Supra. It's in another Toyota. It's in the Morgan Plus 4.
That's correct.
You're everywhere.
You're right, DB. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, they resell this motor to other things.
And I mean, it's different with Toyota. That was a co-development project.
Sure.
You're right. They sell it. You're totally right. There's Morgan. There's a couple other folks as well. I believe it lives in China in some capacity. So,
oh, nice.
Anyway, sometimes having an engine that is widely mass produced is actually a very good thing, because the amount of investment that went into that with that strategy in mind is much different than you would have had.
Yeah, exactly. Got here, and just let me bring this around for the guys whose hair color matches mine and Todd's. Think Chevy 327 circa 1968.
I was going to say
continue.
350.
No,
yeah, 350. No,
Yeah.
classic. Well,
I
sure,
say
but
327 started in the vet. Come on, don't even go.
But you're right though.
Come
Chad, I mean the classic Chevy 350 is a great example because that thing. I mean, how many lives is that?
I mean, it's had multiple L1, L2,
Yeah.
L3s, L6, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the exact same engine. It just has different pieces within it. Push rod, pistons,
Yep.
cam, done.
And it's not high tech. And this makes me sound like a NASCAR fan. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not high tech. But you know what? It just works, and it uses enough power. It's not the most sophisticated engine. It doesn't make the best noises, but it's pretty damn good.
And you can drop it into just about anything.
And it's not too expensive.
Nope.
Yeah, the 350. You can put it in a Jag. You can put it in a Jeep. You can put it in. You could probably put it in a Mini.
Yeah,
So-
and those engines have been in, again, even in GM form. They've been in trucks. They've been in Corvettes. They've been in all of their car lines. They've been in
Cadillac.
the exact same engine in the the simplest form with a few tweaks. Again, this is what BMW is doing. It's the exact same engine in all of these different car lines with a few tweaks.
Or software load or something.
And that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it costs an enormous amount of money to develop an engine from scratch. And so in a lot of ways, and this is actually kind of crazy, but the B48, this is, as it turns out, the last new mini engine that was ever produced. I am convinced that BMW is not producing anything else until they switch to electric. This is it. And I don't think that was originally the plan, but I think it is now.
They're going to they're going to stick with it even in the mild update.
Yep. I'm pretty confident that this is, even with the next generation, because we know that there's going to be a petrol powered next generation. I'm pretty confident you're just going to see a revised version of this engine.
Well,
why not?
Right.
It's interesting because they go all the way from the Cooper S up to the JCW, and the JCW engine, which now puts out 306 horsepower, or 302. I don't know what it is. It's over 300,
Yeah,
but
it's over 300.
it's used in the Countryman, the Clubman JCW, also the X2. And if I'm not mistaken, the X1, it has the same engine in it also.
The M135, the M135 with X-Drive.
Well, it also just to back up for a second, the 1 Series. So to make it simple, every front-wheel drive BMW uses this,
right?
And some rear-wheel drive BMWs as well. The 3 Series uses it. As you mentioned, the Super C4 uses it.
6 Series?
The 7
one of the 7 series that we don't get. One of the 7s that we don't get in the United States.
The 7 Series hybrid uses it.
Oh,
same engine.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's or at least it used to. It's wild. So, but if you guys want to talk about what that next version is, I think this is where it kind of gets interesting. So obviously, electrification's happening. These cars are going to be electric, which is going to be awesome. But what you're going to see, I think, at some point soon is the next generation, which is you're going to see ultimately mild hybrids for all of these cars in the near term, which is basically not anything for us to even worry about. People hear that and are like, well, what does that mean? Do I plug it in? Not at all. It just basically means it's a smoother start-stop operation. Yeah, and there's a little bit of like push to pass, if you will. There's a little bit of an extra grunt when you hit the accelerator, but not much.
It's like we're all going to be driving F1 cars.
Not really. So then, but what's going to be interesting is there is going to be an actual hybrid performance model, and that will have a small battery, and that will produce anywhere. This is me guessing based on sources that have been kind of feeding this to me over years now. I would guess anywhere from 350 to 400 horsepower. Will that be in a Mini?
That sounds almost like that 740, like that 740 config.
I don't know. No, very different. So the 740, those cars, they have a very different sort of purpose, if you will. Massive battery pack compared to what the Mini would have. I mean, this is all about performance. So there's a lot of rumors that have been floated with the front-wheel drive BMWs. Well, let's back up for a second. The front-wheel drive BMWs, the M135, the M235, have not been able to meet the performance figures of Audi and Mercedes front-wheel drive cars. they aren't even close. They're like 100 horsepower down. And so BMW is ultimately going to meet them because they're German. That's what you do.
That's what you do. When you're talking about eating sandwiches with a knife and a fork.
Knife and a fork. So I believe what they're going to do is they're going to come out with a hybrid version of it. It's going to be 350 to 400 horsepower. And I honestly, guys, I would be shocked if that didn't show up in a Mini. I mean, why would it not?
It would almost have to.
Or country.
Yeah,
like a GP4.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they call it. I mean, I think there's a lot of I don't know about that, but I think that at that point you really truly need all-wheel drive. But yeah, why not?
Well, I want to know.
I think it's on the roadmap. I've talked about it on Motorfile before. I mean, it's actually been a couple of years. I probably should do another story on it.
Well, coming back to the mini version of this engine and especially the JCW version. So they had the GP4. It comes out and they had a front wheel drive only car, automatic only. They got over 300 horsepower, and that's the GP3 that we just saw like a little more than a year ago. And the same engine is used.
How much longer till you get one of those in your garage, Todd? Again?
No,
when's that showing up in your house?
No, the question is
GP's on its way, right?
How much longer before they go ahead and put that into the JCW hardtop? Because I still don't get it. And I heard originally that this was planned for like a year or two after the GP3 was released. But it's like now it's only available in the all-wheel drive versions. And I'm like, they did all of this engineering to figure out how to shoehorn this into a front-wheel drive car, did the transmission work and all this for 500 cars in the U.S.
So here's why it actually isn't that much work. So it's all software. I mean, that's not true. It's mostly software. There's
a little bit of turbo there.
So the work is done. That's what my point is. The work is...
But the work isn't that big of a deal. Like, honestly, the majority of the work is all calibration because the transmission's already in that car. The engine's already in the car. Same engine. Right. It's just like slightly different mechanicals with, frankly, like higher quality materials to cope with the added heat.
Sure.
So they just dropped. It's literally, I mean, if you could do this now. I mean, if you had a ton of money, you could buy that engine, you could drop it in an F56. It would fit perfectly, not a problem.
Sure. The
transmission, the Ace and 8-speed fits in that car. Everything fits. So it's not a lot of work. And so I actually don't think they're going to do that. I think there were a couple of reasons why. Number one, the manual take rate is still too high in JCWs for them to throw out the manual option. And I think they look at it as sort of a quintessential part of the brand.
Right.
And so I suspect they won't. I mean, honestly, I'm going on a limb here because the info I've had is now a couple years old, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to retain horsepower levels to around where they're at now, and they're going to focus on efficiency because the standards they have to meet in Europe, efficiency standards, are so intense that all the development dollars. I mean, why has the Cooper S and the JCW not moved the needle in terms of power? But you know how many times they've changed that engine? Almost every year. They revise that engine constantly.
Right.
We wouldn't know it because it doesn't show up as different, except for Europe, where the power has actually gone down in Europe for the Cooper S, because they are adding so many different technologies to reduce CO2 and reduce emissions that they've poured a ton of money into it just to sort of try to keep it at the same level.
Right.
I think they're going to continue to do that, and they're going to look at it and say, listen, we're not going to invest millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in this engine when we're spending billions of dollars trying to turn this brand into an electric brand.
Well, no, you just basically said the point, though, is like there's no more investing in the engine. What I'm saying is the work's already done. It's all just marketing at that point. They could build it. It's not complicated. They've got the parts. It's done. The work is done.
But
my point is, like, is it just the manual versus automatic deal with the JCW, or is there something more into it? Is like we need to keep the GP as like this ultimate, which it really isn't, because technically the Clubman JCW is faster than the GP 0 to 60.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, I've done them back to back. I will say that the GP is faster on track because of its weight, but yes.
But straight up 0 to 60, the same engine in the all-wheel drive, you get more traction, you're faster.
No, I mean, you pose a very good question. Here's my off-the-cuff thought on it. Like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. The GP is not a normal consumer product. Like, you drive that thing,
true,
and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Agreed.
And you drive a JCW and it's like composed. It's fast, but it's not insane.
Right.
It's great. It feels well-rounded.
GP2 and GP3 are factory built race cars. They're the Hellfire drag cars. I mean, that's what they are.
But the GP2, the GP1 and GP2 were fine. The GP3 is like it's alive in your hands. It wants to rip the wheel out of your hands.
It's insane.
Yeah. And so
it's got some really interesting styling cues too. Like they kind of throw it over the edge.
But that's what Gabe was saying. Is it's not like the everyday driver where you look normal driving this thing to the.
But even if you stripped all that away, and just made the JCW, the normal JCW, a 306 horsepower with that automatic. Okay, it might sell, but it honestly, I don't think it would be great for the brand because the thing is not.
This is where we disagree. This is where we choose to disagree.
And I'm kind of with Gabe here. Todd, you want Toyota to sell you a TRD prepped Camry with a manual transmission, and they're not going to do it. Mini is going to make the GP for you because that's what you want, but they're not going to make the GP in regular hardtop form because the guy that wants the JCW car, he just wants a JCW car. He wants it to be fast. Sure, he doesn't want it to be insane.
No,
right? He wants to be able to toss the keys to his wife or his girlfriend. Or
I would say wrong because
I don't think it fits the brand.
I would say
it doesn't. I'm with Gabe on this one.
But here's the thing: which one of you have put your own money out for a JCW 3 times now? And I am that guy putting my own money out, and I am now left. I cannot
argue.
I am now going. I am the guy. I am the target because I'm the one who put my money down on this thing, and I know I have friends who did the same thing, and
maybe you're right.
And my point is that's why it's pushed me to the Countryman because I'm at the point now where I can afford the difference. I don't care. I want that extra oomph. Is it necessary? Absolutely not for my daily commute, which is in town. Is it fun and enjoyable? Absolutely. I want to enjoy that time between point A and point B, even if it is only 6 miles, even if it is stop and go traffic. I am willing to pay the difference, and I don't think I'm unique in the JCW customer realm of that.
Just make sure you strap those cardboard boxes from Costco down pretty hard, and those 1.5s, man, they bounce around really hard, dude.
All right,
so that's just what I'm saying. It's like I disagree because I have a different attitude.
Yeah.
No, but here's the deal. You're totally right. You've put the money down. I haven't, and your opinion. I mean, it may be more valid. There may be an army out there, and maybe Mini is missing that. And so, I mean, I don't know. It's
well, I get to.
I'll tell you right now, as a fan. I would love to see this engine out there.
I'm going to tell you right now, Gabe.
I want to see comments. I want to see people saying, I totally would rock a JCW with the GP motor.
So Mini may or may not be listening to me in this, but they will be listening to me because I will say this. I just got in the mail yesterday my JD Power long-term survey for...
Did they send you $1?
Yes, they did. I got a crisp dollar bill, and I almost threw the envelope away, and I'm like, oh, wait, there's $1 in there.
They still do that?
Yeah, they still send $1 in there. So I get the long term, and that's going to be my attitude. That's going to be my point is to say, listen, my next car is going to be a Countryman because, you kind of screwed the pooch on this to go. JCW hardtop is no longer the pinnacle of the brand. Sure, it's fun. Sure, it's got a manual transmission, but I am moving up to here because this car beats it by a full second, 0 to 60. And that's just me. That's just where I am. And I think a lot of people think the same way I do. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people do.
Well, look, some of them got the Clubman.
So they'll get to hear they'll get to read that opinion because I'm actually going to tell them it, And I know,
that's good.
I know for a fact that they will. I mean, Pat McKenna personally will probably read that comment from the JD Power survey.
Make sure you put XOXO Todd Pearson on your review.
And every end of every comment, just be like Todd Pearson.
White Roof Radio is the best.
White Roof Radio rules. Yes. Put a White Roof Radio decal in the envelope when you mail it back.
It's all digital now. It's all online. So, but anyway.
All right.
Yeah, so I'll at least get to voice my opinion from there from a JC. I mean, I've had 2 JCW hardtops, a 16 and a 19 now. And granted, we're buying another one. I am also getting, because I don't want to let go of the manual transmission. So my wife is getting a JCW hardtop. So we'll still have that, but she doesn't care so much about the power. But after driving my car, she's like, I really like this. I think we're going to get a JCW. That was it. She was sold. So anyway.
My big thing to talk about this motor tonight actually was because I've spent 1,000 miles in the F car so far, right? And one thing I'm noticing, and I've been driving British cars. I'm old. I've driven a lot of old British cars. I mean, I had an old Austin Healey. I had a 2003 cast iron block Mini Cooper. I had a 2007 aluminum block Mini Cooper. And I've had an S with aluminum block, and now I've got the F car, right? And this car is almost like, to me, it's like what the guys must have first felt when they drove the first Honda with the VTEC, right? They're putting the car in fifth gear and starting off from a dead stop with this motor, and they're going, how is this possible?
Yeah.
Right?
Although you shouldn't, we don't recommend doing that, but yes.
Obviously not. And that's not something I've actually done.
Right.
Well, I have, but I'm not saying that I have. But the way the power is delivered in this car, the way it drives, and the way the software manages this motor, even just in the plain S, is truly astounding to me.
It's a really good car.
I can drive this car in 6th gear on the freeway at 60 miles an hour, and if I need to pass somebody, I just step on the gas. I don't have to downshift anymore. I just step on the gas and it goes.
Right.
Done. I can put it in green mode, and I am the total just neighborhood cruiser. It's not going anywhere anytime. It's not going to go anywhere fast, but it's just like it drives like every other car on the road. It's not twitchy. It's not super gotta go. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm just going to drive, and it's perfect. I don't have to think about driving. I don't want the car to get away from me. I don't want it to be all twitchy. I just want to go to the grocery store and the Walgreens.
Well, not to mention,
knock it over to green mode. It's perfect.
Not to mention, it is an extremely reliable engine in this car.
So nice.
Very reliable engine, and that's for me having had at least. Yeah, we've only had 2 of those because our other F56 was a Cooper. We had the 3-cylinder, but I can say that DB, I've owned every iteration of the Mini engine save one. I did not own an R50 Cooper. So I didn't have that version of the Mini engine, but I've had everything since then. An R53 Cooper S, had an R56 Cooper and an R56 Cooper S. Then now the F56 had a Cooper and a JCW. So I've driven them all. I've owned them all, save one. And I will say this is the best built Mini ever.
It really is. It's just so, I mean, just not having to always shift, right? Now,
it's fantastic.
Granted, you R50 guys, and I love you. You guys know my heart is always going to beat with the R50 guys, always. And I will at one point have an R50 back in my driveway at some point. I swear to God, I will. But it's a lot of work to drive that car, right? I mean, you don't just get in and say, I'm just going to run to the market.
It is a full body experience at times. Yeah.
It's and you R53 guys are like pushing me because there's not enough power. It's like, no.
But that's what goes back to what Gabe started with is his first complaint about it is the R50 was so much fun because you could wrap that thing up and it had good throttle response and you really needed to wrap it up and you could.
You had to.
It did. And it was lively because it would rev quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As 75 miles an hour in 3rd gear. It's just like, that.
Here's the problem. Like guys, like I've driven a lot of awesome cars over the years. I mean, I had a 17 horsepower M5 not too long ago. And the way, and that's a huge twin turbo V8.
Good grief.
The speed of which that revs to what's the red line on that thing? 8,000?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like an F1 car.
Is insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like it revs like this.
Like an F1
My Porsche, its red line is I think over 9,000. Revs like this.
Like a motorcycle.
The Mini engine feels like a truck in comparison.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now again, that's my one complaint. It's a heavy flywheel, and they've done that probably because they're like, well, these aren't going to be grade A materials inside. They're going to be grade B minus, but that's because we want to design it to a price point. Doesn't mean it's bad. You still got plenty of performance. They were like, well, you're not getting plenty of performance anyway, so you don't need it. And so that was sort of the downside they made. I mean, or I'm sorry,
but Gabe,
the choices they made.
I think to your point is they did that because the B48 motor and probably even a little bit the B38 motor, they've BMW without knowing it have built the next Chevy 350 V8. Right? This is going to be the engine that's going to be around forever. This will be the engine you're going to put in that car, and it's just going to go. and you're going to put 200,000 miles on it, you're not going to think twice. You might go to a turbo, maybe, but it's just going to go, and it's just going to always go out. You're going to start it, and it's always going to go and go and go and go and go.
Well, it is interesting because my only complaint, speaking of this engine, and I still have this complaint, but I've gotten used to it because I've driven the car 6 years, is the gears are so stinking short between
that's a
first,
transmission,
second, and third.
It's not the motor.
Yeah, but it's the red line too is so low that, like you said, DB, in the R50 and the R53, you could be doing 65 miles an hour in second gear and not even close to red line in the car. This car, you can't get much past 35 or 40 in second gear before you're ticking that, it's time to shift. And that was the first thing that caught me off guard when with my 2016 JCW when I first got it. It was like I was redlining because I was used to driving the GP, the GP1, the R53, and totally different experience. Wildly different experience going from that car to the latest generation JCW F56 motor called the B48. So that is still my complaint. I've gotten used to it. And what I mean by short gears is you have to shift fairly quickly. You don't spend very much time in a gear until you get to, say, fourth gear. But the gears in the earlier minis were much longer. You could stay in them a longer time. So,
Hey, Gabe, you still with us? Thank you, on mute. But I'm just going to ask him, see if he answers.
Yes, I am.
Gabe, just to kind of change gears. That's funny. The B38 motor. Is that ever going to be something more than a little 135 horsepower 3-cylinder engine that they use for stuff?
Well, I mean, it was actually. There's an incredible version.
It's in the i8
that makes 220 some horsepower.
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
And it's in the i8, and it's probably the best small engine that BMW's made since the M3, the E30 M3. It's incredible.
Yeah.
They'll never put it. And so again, you think about what I was just talking about. They developed that engine to a certain spec. I mean, it was in a $150,000 car, so the materials in it are higher quality. It revs quickly. It's amazing. I would kill to have a version of that engine in a Cooper manual. That
Let's find a wrecked R8. Let's find a total i8. Wrecked i8.
We'll just do a motor config. Take the motor out of the i8
exactly.
and drop it into a Cooper.
You know what it fit.
Yeah, so Todd's dream is like a 306 horsepower, JCW with no, not a GP. Mine is that 220 horsepower 3-cylinder manual Cooper.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Be awesome. And the 3-cylinder sounds amazing. That i8, there's just it's almost like an inline 6. It's like a gruff version of an inline 6.
Yeah.
I believe, and this is probably unpopular, I believe that the Cooper sounds better than the Cooper S or the JCW, hands down.
It's got a bigger grunt.
Gabe, you've always said that. You've always said that. You've held on to that for a long time.
It doesn't sound. I mean, you just can't hear it very well because it's. There's no speakers, number one, inside the car. But secondly, the way they have the exhaust tuned. I mean, nobody's making exhaust. Well, Chad, you probably know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody's making exhaust for the Cooper. You can't really do much with it.
No, and we had a 2014 Cooper, a manual. And Gabe, you're right. It sounded really good when you were revving it up. But, man, it went nowhere fast. Like, it was fantastic in first gear. Really peppy, lots of torque. But it lost its nuts about, 25, 30 miles an hour. As soon as you hit that, it's like, okay, I've hit the pancake. It's at the top of the torque curve now. This is as fast as you're going to go. You've made it.
So the DCT, it's interesting because the DCT makes it, and it's fine. I mean, honestly, it's 130 some horsepower. It's
right.
I mean, we drove that.
All round.
Didn't we drive that in a Countryman? And it was pretty good in Vegas.
It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Fast. Yeah. I mean, guys, this is going to sound crazy, and people are going to yell at me, but it is as fast as the original 2002 pre-LCI R53 Cooper S.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You're 100% correct because right. Power to weight's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is quick. The problem is mini. So back in the day, DB R50s. Yeah. It was the same car as the R53. Like the suspension settings were tuning.
It was 100%. It was 100% the same. Yeah.
And so it was an amazing car, right? Well, this time they're like, well, okay, we're going to make the Mini Cooper a more sort of everyday model for the people who don't really care about driving, who just want a Mini. it's a more comfortable drive. It isolates, blah, 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 blah. And so now you get in these cars and it's like, they feel okay, but they're not as like thrilling as the
I know where you're
Cooper.
going with this, and I'm 100% on board. Keep going, but I know where you're going, and I'm 100% on board.
It has always driven me nuts that they don't have an option. They did initially. You could get the sports suspension on the Cooper, although it wasn't as aggressive. It drives me nuts that they never came out with some sort of really interesting performance version of it. Yeah. You could imagine, back to your point, Todd, they have all the parts. They could just bolt on everything from a Cooper S and make that car way, way better.
Sure.
They don't have to do much else to it.
Can you imagine an F56 Cooper that was built to the Cooper S spec, just they just did the motor swap?
Or the JCW spec. I mean, honestly, the brakes would be really beneficial to have better. I mean, you don't need them, but once you get used to like 6-piston calipers, like they're kind of nice.
Well, I love that car. I would drive that car.
As much as a love fest as we're having for the Cooper engine, the B38 version of this 2014 plus Mini Cooper.
I'm a Cooper guy.
The thing is the people in the U.S. are not, and the Coopers are just not selling as much. And Mini doesn't. I don't think they break out their numbers. Cooper versus Cooper S. They lump them together in a hardtop. There's Cooper and Cooper S. But Mini USA knows the numbers, and I think that's why they completely dropped. Like, you can't get a Cooper version of. Can you still get a Countryman and a Clubman in a Cooper? I don't even know.
I don't think you can. I have to look at Motor.
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can. The Clubman you can't, but the Countryman I think you can.
Yeah, probably can. But the cars that I see go through here are just
why
Cooper S. That's it. Cooper S.
It's very easy to borrow money in the United States.
Yeah, it's cheap money right now.
Interest rates are very low, and as much as I think gas prices are more expensive now, except for that one time, DB, when I noticed it was $5, I don't look.
Yeah, it's only you're paying $5 somewhere, Gabe, and California's got a couple spots that are paying $5. But I'm with you on that. Gas also still too cheap. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, it's too cheap. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, why would you get a Cooper?
Yeah, there's no incentive to buy that.
My bank will loan me a little bit more, and I can afford an extra $48 a month, or I don't know. I'm making this up. Not everybody.
Not even that much.
A lot of people.
Not even that much.
A lot of people and the deals they have on these things. You really have to want a Cooper, or you want to get an Oxford. Like, honestly, like you're like,
right.
All I want is a $20,000 Oxford. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. That's what I want. So I think it's true. I mean, I don't doubt it. Yeah. And it's a bummer because to me, it's such an interesting car with a 3-cylinder. It always seemed like all the ingredients were there to make it just a fantastic, like, enthusiast car.
Well, it really is the car for people.
Just like the R50.
It really is the car for people who would rather have that than like a Chevy Spark or whatever they don't even sell any other small cars anymore. Mini's about the only thing left in the small car market.
I almost bought a Chevy Spark, but it's a rental car on the inside. It's just like ick.
Right.
And it's only got 100 horsepower. It's just like,
And I think at the price point that we're talking about for minis, like Gabe said, unless you're getting an Oxford edition, which is the low 20s, most people are going to say, hey, for an extra $3,000-$4,000, I'm going to get the Cooper S because there's a lot more fun there to be had and not a lot more money.
Gabe, I know there's an Oxford in your garage. Do you love that car or what? Is it one of your favorite cars that you get access to?
It's got personality. I think it's hard because it's a DCT. Like, truthfully, like it's hard to like connect with it in the same way. It feels if I'm being honest, because of the DCT, it feels like a really stylish, smart, little commuter car. But it doesn't feel
it's an appliance.
Like, it's fun. Yeah. Like I don't want to say appliance because it's got some soul to it. Like you can throw it around, and even though it's like things have been designed to isolate on those cars, like isolate the driver,
right?
I don't have, I don't have to feel the road. I don't have to have that nasty thing called feedback in my hands. Right. I don't have, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just a different type of experience. But if you see past that, you throw it in a manual, it'll do all the things. Like, it really will. Yeah. And so I don't know, like, to be honest with you, it's fun because it's a Mini, but there's not a lot more there beyond that.
All right,
That's a really
fair
bad
enough.
answer, actually.
No,
it's
that's totally fine.
It's still fun because it's hard not to be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's just it's hard. It's a
It's
small car.
it's
that's got a
hard
decent amount of
because
power.
deep down, even though you're not, you still are. You're trying to compare the Oxford edition to your R50.
You're right.
And you can't
But here's the
do
thing.
that.
No, you're totally right. Here's the thing, though. If it was a manual, and I've driven those manuals, it immediately becomes a different car.
Yeah.
And not to be a manual snob, but it's true. Like
I don't know.
You were involved in making it fast.
I had a manual, and it's well documented on the show going back to 2014, 2015. Our manual Cooper version of it was the least engaging Mini I've ever owned. I hated it. My wife hated it. We both we couldn't wait to get rid of that car.
I love those.
I couldn't wait to
I've driven the F56 Cooper with the manual a couple of times, and it was kind of a snooze fest.
Yep.
It was all right.
I think they're great. I think you're crazy. I think
we're probably crazy.
The nice thing, and I mean it's documented. I am, but I think the nice thing about having a slow car with a manual is like you have to work. Like it's part of the process versus like a manual in my in a 306 horsepower Countryman. Like sure, it would be awesome, but I don't need it. Like that car's got so much torque and so much power that it's just sort of, it's not like I'm revving the engine up to hear it rev. Like that engine doesn't, you know what I mean? Like that experience, right. I hate to say it, is truthfully better suited for an automatic.
Yeah.
If we're really being honest, I think whereas that Cooper is really better suited for a manual because of the character of that car. Now, are there other things that could have brought that car to life and made it more interesting? 1,000%. Like the suspension tuning, and the ratio, the rack ratio,
making it more like an S, right? That kind of thing.
If the steering was quicker, I think that would immediately make people like love that car more.
Yeah. Okay. Make it more enthusiast based sort of kind of thing.
And if you're a fan of
I
don't know. If you're a fan of the F56 Cooper and you have one and you love it, send me your letters. I will probably not apologize because my opinion is mine, and you can have your opinion too. It's totally fine. If you love the car, great, but you're probably wrong. Go drive a Cooper S or a JCW and you'll realize, oh, what am I missing? Oh my gosh.
I think the other thing though,
R50 is life. So I mean, just whatever.
The other thing that you got to remember though, for an Oxford for $20,000 out the door,
it's a good value.
Like that is incredible, and especially in a manual form. I don't know, man. Like I think it's a great car, and I think that is it as like immediately like grin inducing as a Cooper? No, of course not. But it's got a different type of personality, and it's a slow burn in a lot of ways. But for $20,000, man, I love it. And I'll say this, like if for $20,000, imagine that car 10 years from now in the hands of like a 17-year-old. I mean, that's awesome. Like that car's going to be $8,000, and it's a pretty substantial car for that kind of cost.
Yeah. Dope. Nice. And there it is.
Yep.
Okay, finish this off. Nicely done, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Check back next week. We're gonna kick Gabe loose. He's got to wake up early. He's got work in the morning or something. I don't know. Job.
I've got like hours of work to do right now. So.
Oh, you got hours of work to do. He was nice enough to join. He probably drank 2 beers or something while he did, which is really cool. Mr. Bridger, of course, runs motoringfile.com. Those of you who keep sharing links to stories about Mini Cooper stuff that's not on motoringfile.com, you really make me twinge and cringe and twitch. And Gabe throws things every time you do that.
Well, can I just get a PSA real quick? Like, those of us in the Mini community, we're in the Mini community. We're working to make the community better. And I think it's like it's a nice sort of circle of life, if you will. And so including vendors, treat the Mini community as your community. So if you want to buy something, buy it from a small, individually owned shop, like, I don't know,
motoring.com,
etc.
Or Craven Speed.
If you want to read something about minis, go to Motoring File, which is owned and run by somebody in the Mini community. Don't, you know what I mean? Like that. It's just like the little things. Don't go to Facebook. Don't get me started.
Don't get Gabe or I started. We almost got started on Twitter tonight. It's really bad.
I know. You and I could have just gone and gone and gone.
just like gone and gone and gone, dude. It's so bad. I want you to click over to motoringfile.com. Thanks, Gabe, for joining us, of course, as always. There's a brand new story you posted about the mini Urban Knot, some minivan self-driving car thing. I haven't read about it, but go check it out. It looks kind of cool. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. It's actually something that might actually get produced. So go read up on it because we're probably going to talk about that in the next show. Right.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes. What else? Okay, awesome. So I asked you guys a couple weeks ago, in fact, during last show, to fill out the survey. Super duper awesome. A whole bunch of you fill out the survey. I really appreciate that. I want you to keep doing it, though. I want a few more results if you can. If you haven't yet, I'm going to put a little reminder in this week's show notes again to go and click through and fill out the survey. That stuff's really helpful. We reviewed it. We spent an hour reviewing your answers so far this week before the show. And it's tremendously helpful. You have no idea how helpful this is. And it's super simple. Just click the link. I'm going to put it in the show notes again. Just click over. And it takes like 5 minutes. Really. It's 5 minutes. No big deal. It's very cool. And because of the survey, in this week's show notes as well, the show description, you're going to find a link to download the full version of the White Roof Radio theme song. Whoever asked for that, you're welcome.
It's on the server, DB. You can find it.
Yeah, it's already there. So,
Yep.
But there'll be a link to it. So all you got to do is tap it, and it's like, oh, there's the White Roof Radio theme song. So I can put it there and put it on my phone as an alarm because that's what you do, which is awesome. But that's the kind of stuff that we don't know about, so we'll make it available for you guys. Anyway, keep filling that out. We've got almost enough to make it a valid sample, which is what we're really shooting for. So if just a couple more of you could really click over, follow that link in the show notes, and fill out the survey, we would really, really appreciate it. And download the theme if you want, weirdos.
No, it's not weird. I put that together myself 15 years ago.
Todd built that
in GarageBand.
Yeah.
In GarageBand.
Exactly. Super awesome. And because I checked, the Clubman no longer available in Cooper form.
There you
Sad.
go. I was right.
Sad times. You cannot get a brand new Mini Cooper Clubman as a Cooper. Cooper S Clubman, all four, or JCW. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I had other stuff, but I really don't. Motoringstripes.com?
Yeah,
That'd
it's
be
still
cool.
there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's still there.
Motoringstripes.com. Speaking of small vendors that we like, and we love Todd, right? You guys already go to Todd. We're preaching the choir, but just in case you've forgotten, motoring badges, motoringstripes.com. Click over there, get all the things, right? Get the replacement mini logo for your for the front and the back of your car. Todd just prints one up for you, and they charge like $6, and you put it on your car, and it's like, oh, look, my mini emblem's brand new and shiny and cool. Right? We're coming into event season. We got Mini Takes the States 2022 coming up. For those of you who are going, I know Facebook is blown up about it. You're going to want to make sure your Mini's got all the cool stuff. Todd's going to make the graphics. Just go ahead and get over to motoringbadges.com now and get used to looking through all this stuff.
Just
right?
bookmark it. Bookmark it.
Just bookmark it. Done and done. And order the Mini logo to replace the ones on your faded out ones on your car. Piece cake. And bumper protection strips. Get those. Duh. And the White Roof Radio Sunroof Delete Kit. Just get it all. Just do it at once. Boom. Motoringstripes.com. And of course, go over to Detroit Tuned. Go buy yourself something nice. You're going to MTTS 2020. You got other stuff coming up. We got winter coming up. You guys got to worry about winter stuff. Detroit Tune's going to hook you up, especially if you need a tire. I guess you need a spare. Chad, you're still selling small spare tires, right?
We are.
The Space Saver spare?
Yep. Lots of them.
Are you still selling the bag made by Mom?
Oh, yeah. Mom makes all the bags still.
Dude, I need this for my car, and like in the worst way, is if you need a Space Saver spare, just go to Detroit Tune. Just don't go anywhere else. Go to Detroit Tune. You can get it from Aaron Out Motoring too, but go to Detroit Tune because you can get a custom-made bag for yours as well, made with love from Mom. Chad's mom.
Yep.
It's rad. You have to have that. Plus everything else, DetroitTune.com. Go check it out, please. Thank you. Also, in the feedback from the survey, one comment stood out to me in particular I wanted to bring up tonight, and that was the one where somebody thought it would be cool if we answered more listener emails. And I laughed. And so did Todd. And Gabe did and then Chad did a little bit too. You know why?
Yes.
We need emails. So, again, I'm going to go ahead and remind you guys, you can send us email anytime. In fact, if you want to do an Ask Chad question, that would be so stinking cool right now, an Ask Chad question would be awesome, especially on like F cars or on you've got an R56, you've got an R53, you've got an R50, R58, 59. You've got a Mini Cooper in your driveway you have a question about. Shoot it over to us, askchad@whyyourafraid.com, or send it to feedback@whyyourafraid.com. They both go in the same spot, and Chad gets them both. So just send us an email, feedback@whyyourafraid.com, or ask Chad@whyyourafraid.com, and we'll, answer your emails. Simple. You want to send a question just about anything? You want to tell everybody that you think Gabe's cool, and we know that you're lying, but you still want to say it anyway? Sure, feedback@whyyourafraid.com. Actually, if you want to say Gabe's cool, just ping us on Twitter. That'd be better.
That's great.
I'm sorry.
If anybody wants to complain about, social media, DB and I are right there on Twitter.
We are right here. Bring it. Let's go.
I shouldn't say blanket statement, but
we're ready. Come on.
Or if anybody has any tips or tricks on where a power drain could be in a 1970s 2002 BMW, let me know. Just straight on.
Because batteries are expensive to keep buying those.
Well, I just unplug it and I just
there you
just
go.
let the
send that over to
dangle and I just jump it.
Send that over to idriveoldcars@bridger.us. Don't really. That's not a good email. It doesn't exist. I just made that up. I kid, but Gabe drives an old car. It's amazing. And I was thinking about today too, about the whole motor thing, and the thought of Nathaniel and his dad's MGB came to mind, because I've driven a car with that motor, and it's just like the difference between like that car, and that's what I was trying to come up with tonight for talking about this motor, is the difference between the old MGB motors versus what we get to drive now, right? So it's a huge difference, but you don't get that old British car smell, or the smell of oil, or having to deal with tuning carburetors.
It's funny, like my car, I have a 70s 2002 BMW, and it has the scent of an old car. It's like this mixture of like oil and maybe gas, whatever. Yeah. Nothing's dripping. There's no nothing's dripping. It just exists. The smell just sort of oozes from it.
Yes.
I don't know where it's coming from. It's been like that forever.
I bet you it's really similar to old British car. And anybody who's got an old, pre-75 Mini in their driveway, or has driven one, or an MG, or maybe an old Fiat, or anything along those lines, anything old and European or British, maybe even an old Beetle. Some old Beetles had that smell too. It's just it's that old car smell, but it didn't exist in like the American cars. Like my old Camino didn't have that smell.
This is a long conversation, but I will say this, having driven my old car quite a bit recently. Yeah. We forget very quickly how insanely sophisticated, incredible modern cars are compared to what they were even
20 years ago. I know. I had a 95 truck. I mean,
crazy.
That's definitely a very much longer conversation.
It's a longer conversation, but man, these cars have gotten so good.
Yeah. It's really amazing. It's very cool. It's nice being a car guy sometimes.
Yeah. Girl.
Yeah. Or girl. Exactly. Anyway, I think we're done. Does anybody have anything else you want to add?
Nope. Good.
Nope. Sweet.
Good.
All right. Excellent. Thanks, everybody, for joining us again. As always, we do appreciate you guys listening. It's the greatest thing ever. Now that White Radio is back in full swing, it's super awesome. Don't forget the survey. I'm going to mention it one more time, and I'll probably mention it once more. Just do it, and then you can fast forward past this part, because then you just don't care. It's like, oh, no, he's bugging us about the stuff that we don't care about, so I don't care. Otherwise, we're done. So this is a part of the show where I like to make that funny clicking sound. Then I say, questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and click back over to whiteroofradio.com. Though you can leave us in the show notes. You can also email us. Please email us, feedback@whiteroofradio.com. But until next week, King, this is DB. I'm done.
Cheers.
See you.
Cheers.